All right, this video is going to go over making the slide block. So we'll start with a new file in NX. We'll make sure that we're making a model. We're going to be in inches. We're going to name this slide block and make sure you're saving it to the desktop. And we'll say, okay. And we'll start by creating a sketch. We'll sketch on the top plane. We're going to make a rectangle. I want the rectangle to start at the origin. So I want to make sure that we select the origin. And we'll just make a basic rectangle here. The size of the rectangle is 3 inches by 2 inches. So we'll add that in here. We'll say this is 3 inches. And 2 inches. And what we'll do is we'll actually draw the slot in this same sketch. And so whenever we extrude this to create the 1 inch thickness, we'll actually only extrude this material here. So the slot will be formed when we make the extrusion, but we're going to sketch this in this sketch. Now creating a slot in NX is something that can be difficult. So you can do this using the profile tool or using a couple of circles and a couple of lines. The important thing is you want to make sure that you have all the correct constraints. So you want the lines to be tangent to the arcs, with the lines to be horizontal. So either way it will work. I'm going to show you both ways here, and you can choose whichever one you want to use. So I use the profile tool for slots, and what I'll do is I'll start with making the bottom line. And with the profile tool, if you click and drag, so instead of making like another line here, I'll go back to this point, I'll click and drag and move my mouse out. So I'm still holding down this left-hand click as I move the mouse out to create this arc. Now if I let go of the mouse, so I don't have the left mouse click depressed, I'm going to be creating an arc. Now, wherever I click again is going to place the arc. And here's where you want to make sure that you place it in the right position. So you want to make sure that you have this vertical alignment between these 2 points. So, as I approach this point, we have a vertical alignment. So I want to make sure that we have that. And the size of the arc is not important right now. You just want to make sure that you have the right constraints. So when I see that dotted line, I'll go ahead and place the arc here. Now, when I move my mouse out again, so I'm not holding down the mouse click or anything, I just clicked once to place that arc. When I move this line out, you'll see the tangent constraint up here. So there it is right there. You want to make sure that you have that constraint there. The other constraint that you want for this top line is you want the other side here to also have the vertical constraint with this point. So 2 things, you want to make sure that you have the tangent constraint, and you also want to make sure that you have that vertical constraint there. So once I see that, I can go ahead and place the endpoint of this line here, and I'll create another arc. This time, I just want to make sure that I connect it up with my other line. So there is one arc. The other way to do an arc is with 2 circles and 2 lines. This way requires you to add in some constraints. So I'll go to my circle tool and I'll place a couple of circles. So I'll just click once, click again, and then click once and click again. And then I can exit out of my circle tool. The 2 things I want about these circles is I want them to be equal. So I want them to have the same radius. And I also want them to be horizontally aligned. So the center points need to be horizontally aligned. So I'm going to be using my make constraints. So I'll come up here to options and I'll turn on persistent relations. I'll say create persistent relations. I'm going to use a make horizontal constraint. I'll pick up the center point of this circle and the center point of this circle, and I'll say OK. That means that now they are horizontally aligned. And the other thing I want to do is I want to make them equal. So we have our make equal constraint. And I just want to select both of the circles, and I'll say OK. This means that the two circles are going to be the same size, and also they're going to be they're horizontally aligned. So next what we'll do is we'll add two lines. So we'll add the bottom line and the top line. We'll just connect them up. So I'll use my line tool, and I want to be sure that with my snap points that I'm not snapping to the center, to the arc center. I want to be placing, notice the snap point is on the curve itself, not to the center. If you're having issues with this, you can go to snap point options and turn off arc center. So now it's only going to allow me to place a snap point on the actual curve. So I can't place it on the arc center. So I will start my line on one circle and I'll take it over to the other circle. And I'll do the same thing down to the bottom. Notice that it's adding in these tangent constraints for us. So we have our top line and our bottom line. We can exit out of our line tool. And what we have now is almost a slot, but we have some extra curves here. And so we'll go to our trim tool, and we just want to trim off this excess material. So there's two ways to make a slot. Either way, it will work. Just whichever way you want to do it. So once we have a slot drawn in our sketch, we're going to want to position this and size this correctly. So the size is 1.5 inches from center to center, arc center to arc center, and the width is 1/2 inch. So when we do the 1/2 inch, we can just do from the top line to the bottom line here. We can say 0.5. And for the arc center, so we can either pick up the arc center or we can use these endpoints or just the line itself. So I can just click on this line and say 1.5, and because that is the arc center to arc center. That's the size of the slot. Positioning this though, we're told that it's centered on face. So it's centered on this face. So we're not going to position this using dimensions. We're going to use our constraints. So I can do a make vertical constraint. I'll need to pick up the midpoint of either this top line or the bottom line. So that midpoint there. And then I need to pick up the midpoint of the line for the top of our block. I'll pick that midpoint there, and I'll say OK. So now that's aligned it so that this can move. This can still move up and down, but it can't move side to side. So these 2 points here are aligned along the same axis. So it can't move it can't deviate from that axis. I do the same thing here, but I'll choose I'll do a make horizontal. I'll pick up the arc center, either arc centers, and the midpoint of this line here. And I'll say OK. So now the midpoint of this line and the midpoint of this line, you can think of like an axis, like a line going all the way through. they cannot move away from that line. We have the same thing here, but it's going vertically. So this has now been constrained as far as the location goes without using any dimensions. And so sketch is fully defined. We can say finish. And we'll go to the extrude. And we'll extrude this a distance of 1 inches. So our start distance will be 0. Our end distance is going to be 1. And we'll say OK. And that is our slide block. Be sure to save this.